About the DMV, you can.
Okay, the DMV, well, actually any code in which you have to pay a fine. A fine is a tax. A license is a tax. Registration is a tax. It's a tax for use. When you do registration, that's a tax for use. Since the people are the government, why can they be taxed? How can they be taxed? There's no way they can. It's only if you're a slave that you pay a tax.
You say it's illegal.
So no, it's not illegal, it's unlawful. Okay, you have to know the difference between legal and lawful. Okay? Legal is anything that has a code to it, a statute. Those are all legal terms for legal purposes. Lawful is the fact that you are the law. So if you are the law, how can they apply that to you unless you break any one of the 4 laws? Okay? First you have a tort. Tort is the damage of person or property, including killing. That's the first law. Second law is breach of peace. So if you're very loud, if you make a statement, there's a fire in the movie house and there was no fire, that's a breach of peace. Anything where you're very loud, that's a breach of peace. Okay? Trespass. And most people understand trespass. That's if you've got a piece of property and they trespass over your property line, okay, without your permission. That's a trespass, and they are guilty, and they can be picked up. But there's also a trespass of case, a trespass of person, there are a lot of trespasses. And at any time that they are encroaching something on you that you do not will. So if you go to Penal Code 147, it says that they can only arrest you if you give them permission or detain you.
Really?
There are 2 other ones, but you guys need to look up 147 because it is very specific, and it's in my paperwork. So eventually I will send you the paperwork.
We'll put the paperwork here once we get it. Yeah.
Okay. And so that is when you have to worry about it. Okay, now we'll go to the last one. The last law you got, okay, is contract law, because contract is something that was even in common law, okay? So if you breach a contract, you have violated the law, okay? So let's see, your driver's license. What is your driver's license? It's a contract with the state on the use of your vehicle. But not everybody has a vehicle. Hill versus U.S., and that's in my paperwork. It says, just as in Arthur versus Morgan, where the carriage was I can't remember the term, but it couldn't be taxed, and this was the purpose of Arthur versus Morgan. They can't be taxed. So if there's a tax, registration, licensing, things like that, okay, then it can't be taxed. Then Hill says the automobile is the same as the carriage in Arthur versus Morgan. And that's in my paperwork, okay? And I did my own research. I didn't let somebody else tell me what a case said. If you tell me something, a case said something, I'm going to go look it up myself. I'm not going to agree with you until I seen that that's exactly what it says.
Mm.
And so everything I did in my 45-page document has been thoroughly researched, and I know it's correct.
Mm. So people, if they have trouble traveling in their private conveyances or their carriages, they can use some of that research and go into court very confident that what we're saying as case law or different decisions, that's very strong. And if there's justice, or the judge or the people care about, justice, they'll favor in the area of the defendant.
Since all judges, every one of them, is a federal judge.
Wow.
Even in the state, they don't tell you that, but it's a federal judge. Okay? And it happens because the only thing that's in effect is the Constitution. The Constitution has the element of codes, and that code is only for those who are under the Constitution. So if you're not under the Constitution, then the Constitution does not apply to you. But what's in the Constitution is some of your rights, not all of them.
Right.
Okay? So your rights come from God, or not. You don't
Nature.
say God. It was called Creator. Okay? And so the Creator gave you your rights long before an agency ever came into existence.
That's right.
And so you still have those rights.
And we give them away when we contract them, let's say DMV.
Right. Anytime you contract with anybody, any of the codes. I have a set of paperwork that I did in 1995. Okay. That was 1 year after I got into doing no taxes. Okay. And what I did was there was a gentleman that lived in Mendota. I lived in Fresno. And he contacted me and says, the building inspector has come along and told me I have to have a permit. Well, I had done research on permits, and permits are only for one who is engaged in an activity to which the legislature rules and regulates that code. Well, it tells you in the code who it applies to. Well, what they like to do is they like to pull out the section that doesn't tell who it is. They just say, when you're doing this, then, and it says, when you are, and I can't see it if it was under the code, it was, when you are engaged in an activity to which this applies, who does it apply to? So that's one of the questions I asked. And so anyway, what happened was this gentleman wrote to the building inspector and asked, to whom does this code apply? And so the building inspector, he took the paperwork and took it to the attorney. Well, the attorney put it together, and he put that in as if it applies to you. Okay. So I wrote back and said, well, if it applies, well, I don't think it applies to me. Can you explain to me who it applies to? And what he did was he wrote back and he says, well, if you have a question, maybe you need to get an attorney, and the city is going to continue based upon the original letter. That's when I wrote the letter that I swear I did not write. But I was the only one there, so it had to have been me.
Tell us about this letter.
And when I wrote and I said, excuse me, I said, if I go to an attorney, I'm going to ask him the questions that I need answered. And there's the same ones I'm asking here. So why would I want to spend money to an attorney to ask the question that I am actually asking you? That was my first part. Then I said, as I told you in the last letter, it says if it applies to you, so who is it that it applies